Hi there, I'm Kat.
And I'm Derek. Welcome to Chit Chat with Derek and Kat.
We're your backstage pass into the world of family businesses. The real stories, the real challenges, and everything that makes these businesses thrive across generations.
Each week, we'll sit down with entrepreneurs, leaders, service providers, and family dynasties to swap stories, dig into some lessons, and have some laughs along the way.
So whether you're part of a family business, dreaming of starting one, or you just love a good success story, you're in the right place.
So let's get into it. It's time for Chit Chat with Derek and Kat. Welcome back to another edition of Chit Chat with Derek and Kat. I'm Derek Volk, owner of Volk Packaging Corporation, located in Biddeford, Maine. And this
is Catherine Wygant Fawcett. I'm the executive director of the Institute for Family-Owned Business, otherwise known as IFOB. And we're welcoming our guest today, Rich Hussey.
Welcome to the show, Rich.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So tell us about Hussey Seating. You guys have been around for a long, long time, but some people may not know about you.
We have, yeah. Sometimes we find we're still a secret to some. So happy to share today. We're a seventh generation, 190-year-old Maine family business that has been around since 1835. We actually have fifth through eighth generations that are engaged at some point in our family governance and assembly process right now. We have myself working from the sixth generation in the business. And then we have a seventh generation. My nephew Josh is working in the family business right now, but we have a very active shareholder group among particularly our sixth and seventh generations. So we're a spectator seating business. Provide, anything you'd go to see an event. We could potentially providing the seats for it, including the understructure. So everything from a middle school bleacher in a small gymnasium to a New England Patriots stadium or an auditorium in a college, all potentially have Hussey seats in them. So we're very proud of how we've evolved that way from a company that was undefined product lines for a long time to defined over the last 60, 70 years to be squarely in the seating industry.
Yeah. And you also were one of the founders of the IFOB over 30 years ago.
Yes, I can't take personal credit.
No, we know
my involvement, but the family being involved in the business, and I know my dad, my sister, my brother have all had strong passions about family business and Maine, and what a great combination of things to be working on together.
And you've also won a couple of our awards, like you won Innovation and Technology last year.
Very, very pleased to be recognized for that. And so everything is good on our end here.
So how many Husseys are actively involved in the day-to-day operation versus how many are on family board?
Yeah, so there's two of us in the day-to-day business, and on the board we have three family members that are on the board. My nephew Philip, my sister Ann, my cousin Letitia, who's the chair of the board. So they're involved in the regular board structure process, and then the two of us are working in the business. But we also have my niece is coming on as a summer intern in marketing. We have a program for our children that are in the college age to be able to come in and do internship work in the summer. So we've got, even though she's, I think, physics and biology, Emma's going to help us in marketing this summer, which she's already helped. She's great on the research side. So it's great to have them involved. We've had, a lot of seventh generation kids have been here and interned at one point or another. Emma's our youngest, actually, at 20. So most of them have gone past that at this point. So.
Yeah. And you all have brought in advisors and governance and family councils, and you've helped with programs that we've done to say how that has helped you for generations. I mean, you guys started out making plows, as I understand.
Yes.
And then you did fire escapes and other things and had to keep innovating and changing.
Right.
And you eventually brought in some outside management to be the president and the CEO. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. So we have reinvented ourselves a few times on our evolution. I think the biggest historical piece was that following World War II, the baby boom and basketball becoming popular all at the same time, we started to get a ton of contracts to build the understructure. So we did metal fabrication, wood finishing, and those type of things. So a bleacher kind of just fit. And then with all of those, the sport and the baby boom taking off and school construction, we ended up getting to a much more defined business. So that's where we've been in the seating area for long. And like I said, have reinvented ourselves. I think there's been a nice evolution over the time that I think, like a lot of family businesses, we one or two people may be involved and not a lot of structure and outside assistance. And my dad and my uncle in the 90s kind of said, I think as we look to transfer ownership to the next generation, we probably ought to get some help. And honestly, they recognized that they had certainly some conflict that they would like to say, are there some things we can do for the next generation to help avoid, just take the good things that come from the family in a family business and try to strip away the things that make it more challenging, as we all know. So with that, there was a move towards, my dad had started it a while ago, but we got more formal with an outside board of directors. And right now, by rule, by agreement, we have a majority of outside board members from outside the business. The idea that we don't let any family politics or strong issues outside of objective business decision making help steer, the decision making. So that was a component of bringing in outside. And so by in our bylaw agreements, we always have to have a majority of outside fiduciary board members. So we're very excited about who our board members are CEOs, they're people in the industry, they're Mainers, they're other people that come from family businesses, but they bring a very objective perspective to it. So that's a nice safeguard to have. There's always going to be a majority of professional board with fiduciary responsibility. The other thing we did, I think, to bring some structure to our governance work is that we hired an outside family business consultant and to help us navigate all the different things that come, whether it's families interested in employment, whether it's dividend policies, whether it's perks and benefits, and I know everyone involved in the IFOB would know that when there are potential issues if things aren't transparent and clear. It's a lot easier to have conflict. There's a lot of energy and assets that are involved in a family business. So one of the things we recognized was having kind of an honest broker, so to speak, consultant that works for the company, didn't work for the one family member or the CEO, is contracted with the company representing all family members in that process. And that evolved. We've had that in place. 2016 was a big fork in the road for us. My brother Tim passed away tragically from cancer as the CEO. And we just really triggered the need to do a lot of governance work. We had our first non-family CEO, which was a huge deal. It was someone that had worked here, Gary Merrill, for like 30 years. It was as close to a family comfort level as you could have. And we've stated all along that we don't have to have a family member being in the CEO seat. So as we want the best candidate. So that's one of the things we've kind of codified in policy. So we went for the first time with an outside CEO, and that changed a ton of the roles and responsibilities for family members in the business. Senior manager, family members in the business. CEO now is not a family member. That's also not the head of the board. So we used a new consultant resource that David Karofsky is his name, and his dad. David actually attended Bowdoin College. We came to him through some connections. I went to Kobe. I try not to hold it against him that he's.
Yeah, I went to Bates.
Okay, so there we go. Now we've got a real problem all around.
We all love each other.
Yeah. So he took basically at the time 3 generations of input and helped us develop a new family structure that was under an umbrella called the Family Assembly. And that includes multi-generations, whether you're in the business, whether you're a shareholder, if you're part of our 5th, 6th, 7th, and we now have a baby Harry in the 8th
number 8.
generation, they are part of our family assembly process, which is a lot of it's social and relationships focused with some business too. The other thing we created for a structure was a family council. So it almost set up like a representative government, so to speak, for all of the issues and things that we wanted to get our arms around as a family. So we have a governance manual that, for instance, that came out of that. On that family council, we have committees too. So this is a great way for people that don't work in the business, spouses included, kids included, that aren't voting shareholders, can join committees that we have to do work on our family governance process. So we have a event planning committee. They focus on every 2 years, we have pretty much a family reunion. In that family assembly, we have a big summer go away all together. And so that event committee is working on that and the format for meetings and things like that. We have a shareholder committee that has got to, drive shareholder communication. And when things that are impacting shareholders, or we're voting on a new board member that shareholders are involved in, there's a concerted group, 3 or 4 folks that are driving that and the communication. We also have an education committee, as we realize the 7th generation range in age from 20 to 35, basically, that some education for the next ownership group would be good about family businesses, governments, being a good board member, financial planning, all those type of things that would be good to educate future shareholders. So actually my son who's 26, is the chair of that committee, working with others, and sends out, we have a budget. So if people want to attend a workshop or something like that around family business stuff, we do that. And we have a legacy committee, and we've done a lot of oral history and interviewing senior leaders, board members, family members. We have a lot of stories captured from long ago from a lot of people. And so we have a legacy group that looks at capturing and maintaining our history in different formats as well. So we've put a lot of structure in that. And then, of course, we have the board process. We have a nominating committee that includes family members. We probably have a lot of governance that wouldn't make sense for smaller family-owned businesses. But we found that doing a lot of this work gives people an opportunity to contribute without feeling the pressure to work here. And it also sets up clear protocols, guidelines, consistency. We might have to hash it out and disagree on things, but it's less likely to be a side conversation or something that's unclear about what our intention is with a policy or approach. I mean, it can be anything from Patriot tickets to a social media policy, to a social media policy, to anything could be discussed. And so we have that governance manual that actually provides a lot of structure for that, and that's part of the role of the council. And I think the one other thing, and I thought about this ahead of time, I know it's a long answer. One of the things that we did that I think didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but we keep looking back at it. It's like a roadmap and really rules of engagement. We created a responsibility matrix that clearly outlines what the board's role is, what Class A shareholders, voting shareholders' roles and responsibilities are, what the board responsibilities are, what management are, on a bunch of topics. So kind of the stay in the lane approach. We have a guidebook we can go back to and say, someone says, hey, I should have been told about that. Well, actually, there are rules of engagement say we got to let you know about it after the fact. That's not something that you would have input on, and we use that in the business, and we use it as shareholders to refer to. And it's really a great tool. And one of our outside board members I know called it brilliant. We didn't think it was brilliant, but it just stripped away a lot of the people's expectations of what they should have access to, what they shouldn't, who's making that decision to Class A, what's a voting issue or what's not, all of that. So all of that kind of work culminated in actually a new shareholder agreement that we came together with last year with the next generation, having major input as voting shareholders now. So we've got a new shareholder agreement for the next 20 years that, again, was facilitated by this outside resource that helped keep us on track. So that was a long answer.
Okay, I know he has another question.
But I assume there would be still questions from that.
Yeah, no, I do have a lot of questions from that.
Yeah.
But it ties in perfectly with what my next question was, which was when Tim passed and Gary took over.
Yeah.
That's the first time that a non-Hussey was running the company.
Yes.
So my first question was around culture, and I know Gary had been there a long time.
Yes.
But he's not a Hussey.
Right.
So how was that received? How did that change the culture at all? And was there any pushback from people feeling like, well, I know Gary is CEO, but I'm going to go talk to a Hussey.
Right.
The answer I want.
Right. And of course, I head up HR. Now I did.
I was going to say, how many people are in this universe that are the daily part, and then like the employees part too?
Yeah. So when that happened, I actually was working. I was on the board. I joined the board after Tim passed. I actually took his family seat on the board through a procedure, and then so we really didn't have any family member in management at all at the time. I think Gary and we have a very committed, long-term, loyal employee base that we do not take for granted. But that made that a lot easier. They all knew Gary. Gary was seen as having the similar values, and of course, we had the board, family board members involved as well. And we worked really closely on that whole transition, including being able to identify those type of issues, Derek. We really didn't, once in a while in a survey, I'll see, hey, it would be nice if a family member still was the CEO, but very rarely do we hear it. And we've had really good success. We've got defined core values that our leaders believe in, even if their last name isn't Hussey. I think part of me being in the HR role helps ensure that I've heard people say, can help ensure that the family's values are carried out in the way we're working with employees. So I think that piece of it works. Our CEO right now, Brian DeVoe, very capable, well-liked leader, and that has done a great job picking up where Gary left off. And frankly, we've had great success over the last 7 or 8 years as a company in almost all areas, financially, employee retention. So that probably greased the skids a little bit easier, that we're having good results, so that shareholders weren't that. But so many of our things, even with Gary, the relationships, right? So, and we're doing a lot of communication with the board and manage. We do quarterly, after our board meetings, we quarterly, the family members host a shareholder review, and we invite an outside board member to give their perspective so that all shareholders are hearing the quarterly results, for instance. So being able to keep the communication, the relationships, that summer picnic that that family one, management, board, all participate that in like a 2 or 3 day weekend. So the relationships have been able to sustain. And I think it might not have worked, Derek, if it wasn't Gary at that time. He was in a unique position as a leader that had been here for a ton of time, and Tim helped drive. Even as Tim was ill, he was helping put that whole transition plan in place successfully. And then again, with the help of our family business consultant, I think we were able to manage kind of the family governance stuff and let the business do what it needed to do, but certainly more engagement from family board members around culture and that sort of thing. The other thing we do, not that this would do this automatically, certainly, but we have a formal shareholder letter that we do every year for the board, and we set out expectations. And there's some financial expectations in there, but there are clear expectations about our values, about everything from succession planning to best places to work survey. So we're able to have a process that gets everyone input to present what our expectations are for the board. And not that covers everything for a non-family CEO. But again, we have a voice directly into management that way. So I think it helps,
There's a lot of family businesses that are run by the family with suggestions, mine included, of creating an outside board like you have.
Yes.
What is an example, and it doesn't have to be literal, but just generic, if you will.
Yeah.
What is an example of a decision that Brian could make as the CEO or that he would have to go to the board with? So, for example, buying a piece of machinery. Is that a decision that he can make only up to a certain dollar point, and then it has to go to the board? How does the board fit in with the CEO's day-to-day decision making?
Right. And I think that got a little bit clearer too, Derek, when we didn't have a family member that was also the head of the board. That's one of the things we did was separate out. Again, we created a bunch of new rules, if you will, that the CEO is not a board member. And and preferably a family is the chair of the board, but doesn't have to be. But the president and the head of the board cannot be the same person. So that we've created some separation of responsibilities and duties, I think, for the benefit of the company. So along those type of lines, a capital expenditure, if it's over a certain dollar amount, gets approved by the board. If it's a lesser amount, it's a management decision. I don't even know if we call it the CEO. I'm thinking to our responsibility matrix. If we are selling off a small product line extension that's worth less than a certain amount of dollars, it's an FYI to our Class A shareholders. If it's a major, if it's got a certain dollar amount, a change in our business structure, shareholders get input. And there's certain things shareholders would have vote on. If we were divesting of something significant, there would be a vote. So there are rules in place for both our governance structure, but also there are protocols for what the board has to has to approve for the CEO. And that's where all that kind of mapping out, are we all on the same page on authority of decisions and input, helped out. So yeah, the board, again, fiduciary board, they're approving our budget and plan. They have to officially vote on our annual plan. That probably didn't happen 20 years ago. I'm not sure what it said in the bylaws, but when the CEO and the head of the board are the one and the same, plans probably got approved, without as many checks and balances in theory. Not that it was anything negative, but we forced more structure. And again, it all starting with having a non-family CEO made us revisit all of these different protocols.
So can you give us a sense, you talk about board members, you talk about family people, and you talk about employees, like how many board members do you have?
Yeah, so we have, I think, and we're in the middle of a transition. So we have 4 or 5 outside board members and 3 family. So I think by rule, we don't have more than 9. And as long as we have a majority of outside, it could be 5 and 3. Sometimes you shoot for an odd number. We don't get a lot of tight votes and disagreement. We try to get to consensus, but it's good to have an odd number, ideally.
Yeah, that's what I did to do with our board. So, and then if you look at the family, you said there's spouses, non-passive, you're also 7 generations. Like, is that 100? Is that 200 people? How big is that?
Good question. And I actually counted a little bit because we got the young kids are
right. I know you have 1-year-old. That's your newborn.
So 35 to 40 in the family assembly. Which covers 5th generation, a few of the 5th generation, my mom and my aunt and uncle that are, and they would be invited and come to the family event, for instance. And then we have 11 Class A shareholders that have voting rights. And then we have 11 shareholders that have what's called Class B, have a financial ownership stake, but not voting stake in Class B shares. That's another 11. So there's 22 shareholders. And
are those all Husseys?
Those are all
family
Husseys.
members?
Those would be direct descendants from our previous generations. Yes. Now we've gotten this generation has grown quite a bit in the branches on the tree. So there's more cat herding than there used to be. I mean,
so you're going to start having to do finding your roots, and it's right. All out like this.
Exactly. I mean, it used to be my brother and my uncle. I mean, my father and my uncle trying to figure it out. Then we got in the next generation, there were 8 of us, and we had tragically a member from each branch died. Tim and my cousin Chris, who was on the board, died prematurely too. So then there's 6, but then then you get into the whole, passing along stock and transferring stock. So at this point, 11 Class A with voting based on your number of shares for votable type things, and then another 11 Class B, which are 7th generation that haven't received Class A yet. And we've created some mechanisms that it wouldn't take me passing away to be able to pass, and there's some age limits and some protocols, but we have a little bit of flexibility about when if I think my kids are ready to take on voting responsibility, once they're at a certain age, we can pass that.
And then you have like around 120 employees or something.
No, 350.
340
right now. 340, I guess, right now. Yeah. We've grown quite a bit coming out of COVID. And we were at 2. We've probably added 70 to 80 employees the last 2 years.
Wow.
That's over 500 or more people involved.
Yes. That's fair to say.
Now, how do you handle that, Mr. HR?
Well, like I said, we have a great employee base. Well before I was here. I think our biggest, from an HR standpoint, I think, it's helpful that I'm very aligned with Brian, the CEO. Any HR CEO, you hope you have similar values and approaches, and
right.
Brian's fantastic. He
is.
I know he's going to probably hear this, and I shouldn't say it, but he makes doing HR look easier. I don't have to sell him on doing the right things for people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of our core values, right? We're in it for the long run. We treat each other with respect, and we really see it as a huge asset for the business, the loyalty, the longevity, and that sort of thing. So there's a good fertile environment anyways here culturally, that I came back into. I think our biggest challenge on HR and to a degree as a family too, is getting the next generation of people ready to lead the business. We have a big gap in our leadership age segments. We must have had a 10-year period where we didn't hire a lot of leaders, because a lot of them are like me and 60 or around that. And then we have a bunch of young talent as we've grown that we've hired that we're trying to develop. So my mission feels really clear that what I'm trying to do before I retire is really hopefully help facilitate getting the next group of leaders ready to run the business when all of us old folks retire over the next 5 to 6 years.
I just took Leadership Maine, and Nate was in my class.
Oh, Nate Osgood, yeah.
Osgood, and he's one of us. So he is great. Yeah. So you're going on the right tracks.
Right. So we've put in accelerated development programs, succession planning, some processes we didn't really have formalized before to try to get that ready. And then on the family governance side, I'm currently the chair of that family council I referenced. There's like 6 of us on it. And from a governance standpoint, my mission feels pretty clear now too, that I want to be part of, with the 6th generation, of getting the next group of voting owners, the 7th generation, well positioned to be good shareholders. And it's not going to be hard. They're a good group of kids, so to speak. We keep calling them that. Some of them are in their mid-30s and have had 4 jobs, but they're still kids to us in the family vernacular. So getting them ready to be shareholders and trying to get some of our young talent into position to be ready to be senior leaders from the HR makes my mission pretty clear right now. So that feels good. And I think we're doing pretty good at it.
I remember talking to Tim one time, and he was telling me that, there's the whole 30, 13, 3, as the generations go, it's harder to keep it going.
Yes.
And I remember Tim telling me that when you get to the 4th generation, it actually goes the other way, because nobody wants to be the one to blow it.
Right.
Not on my watch.
Yes.
Not on my watch. I'm not going to be the generation to ruin this.
Right.
And I remember him telling me, or I think it was at one of your anniversaries events that you had.
Yep.
And he said, when this company started, Revolutionary War veterans were still alive and Civil War veterans hadn't been born.
Right. Right.
And I was like, wow, that really puts in perspective. I mean, we're a 58-year-old company, but we're babies compared to you. So how much pressure is there to keep that going?
Yeah. tons of pressure. I mean, I think it just kind of motivate. It depends how you deal with, does it turn into fear and not making good decisions because you're scared to, or does it turn into motivation and optimism? And that's, I think, where we've been able to choose that. We've definitely, you have to have good luck, as you guys know, to get to where we are too. There's some,
but good luck is also well planned.
Yeah,
like,
but if
you've been on panels before where you said, we put in these structures in place.
Yeah.
When things were good, so that further down the line, if things got bad, we had something to help us and hold us through that.
Yes. And I'm probably referencing more like the second, if two of my great uncles hadn't wanted to be in the business, we might not have made it. Now we have a broader tree.
Right.
And actually, so one of the changes on that structure, for instance, is we are trying to eliminate the pressure to come work for the company. Now, what we say in our governance structure is, if that meets your career needs and you want, it's a benefit. It's great to have family members working in it. But we also say we don't want, first off, we don't want entitlement. You got to earn your way. So we have a lot of protocols around our employment policy. You got to be qualified. You got to earn your way. There aren't special perks that come with employment. It's all in our employment package. So we put a lot of these things in place. And I still think we'll end up with probably some more seventh generations owning the business, but the governance on that stuff too, we take, it very seriously about, if you're going to work for the business, what the expectations are, which are being, exceeding the normal work expectations as a family member in the business. So yeah, we've set some of those out. We've been a little bit, lucky, but I think with this larger group, so between education and the socializing and the family stuff, that, we got people that are going to be interested, and they're at least going to be good shareholders, and they're going to have the passion to be, because we talk a lot about, being an active, good shareholder. And there's places, again, in our family governance where people can make an impact. We have
and then Tim was very big
contributions committee that talks about where we donate our money.
And Tim was a big service leader.
Yes. Yes. And I think that culture has continued. I probably would say I feel like it might have, my dad brought our commitment to like the Southern Maine's United Way. But we felt strongly about giving back to the community. That's kind of been in our core values for a while. And Tim was certainly very strong on that.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Tim. So I've known Tim because I used to work in the travel business. So I knew him then. And when I came to the Institute, he was the first one who sent me an email. They said, "Oh, Catherine's been hired." And I was like, "Oh, yay, I made a good decision." And he's like, "I'm looking forward to learning with you." And we decided we wanted to do a business after hours. And when I worked in the travel business, we would give away airline tickets. So I said to him, I'm like, "Well, let's do a business after hours." And we did it in your product showroom.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said, "Hey, Tim, I knew because you made the Patriots tickets." I'm like, "Can you give away the Patriots tickets?" And he's like, "Well, I can't give away the tickets, but I can give away the seats." So you made us 3 seats. We had the Sea Dogs, the Patriots, and the
Celtics? No.
Celtics. Yeah, something like that. And so the Sea Dogs, the Patriots, and the Bruins or something.
Bruins,
yes. So we had it in your product showroom, which I know you've since redesigned, but we had corn dogs and Cracker Jacks, and we had the people who were there play musical chairs. So the 3 people that were the last one standing got it. We were playing Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
That is awesome.
And it was so much fun. And then Tim got up and he talked about the family business. And then we went to the museum and we saw the other things. And so I never understood why he didn't have the tickets. And then I found out later, everybody in the family wanted the tickets.
Oh, yeah. And employees too.
Seats, but you can
right.
You can really have them now, maybe. I don't know. But
they're not as popular now.
Days, so they wouldn't do it in the Brady's.
No, they're a big, we have a huge, obviously, our entire company probably are all Patriot fans. And then the fact that we just actually got a new contract with them to reseat. So we'll have had 2 seating contracts with them. So, and then it'll be spread out over a few years. And one of the things they do when they negotiate is they force you to take a couple more season tickets or increase your commitment to them as kind of having skin in the game on the process. So we went from 6 to 8 season tickets. and our sales guy, I'm sorry, we had to, don't be sorry. They're on the upswing. This is good. We got 8. So we raffle them off for employees on a couple games. But we have a structured process. The family gets a couple games a year, and who has priority to go. There's that whole process.
And it's really fun if people don't know this. And I don't know, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. If you're sitting on your seat and you turn it up, you can see the Hussey logo.
Yes. Yeah. Might depend on the section or if it is replacement, but yes.
Or sometimes you're allowed to put it on, or sometimes you're not. So any kind of stadium, if you sit in your seats, like, because have you done Merrill Auditorium?
Yes.
Did you do those? So you can look and you can see. And you did it in Blue Bay in our high school.
You should be on our marketing team, Catherine.
I know.
This is great. You know things I don't know.
You guys. This is the best thing. You sit down and you're like,
yeah, no, it is cool.
And
think about the North Berwick parent that works with us. Yeah. That's sitting on a bleacher watching their kid at Noble High School, and they help build the understructure, and whether they're a welder or sales or whatever, but the pride that people get from sitting on the product. And we don't get a lot of that here on site because we're making components that get put together in the field. So we're seeing the small components.
Where you change over the whole arena from one chair to another is amazing.
That's a really subtle part of our business. That's a key factor, is how quickly you can actually change over seat designs from a hockey game to a circus to a Celtics to a basketball, etc. And so we do show those because the operation folks, you could have the prettiest seat in the world, but if you can't move the platform to change it for a concert configuration in time, you're, SOL.
Right.
So I don't know if I can say that on a podcast, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
Family share.
Yeah.
So we got to wrap up with the lightning round questions.
Okay. All right.
So what are you known for saying? What's a famous thing that everybody says, oh, he's always saying that?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I am aware that we have a small group of employees that have a pool going when we do employee meetings about how many times I'm going to use the word folks and onboarding. Those have been big in my presentations, apparently. So this is funny. They don't know that I know. So if any of them are watching this, they will now know that I know. But I've got intel. And so they have a pool going, and they have an over-under on how many times I'll use the word folks.
So that's almost like a drinking game, right? But you're not allowed to do that.
Exactly. We're not allowed to do that.
It was like Wizard of Oz every time they said any app.
So I will consciously sometimes say folks a lot and sometimes completely avoid it. The first 2 times after I'd heard that, I made sure those were not spoken. And my own team said, I saw you start to say folks and you said employees instead. It was great. So they don't know that I know. So I'm just going along with it. So I would assume I use a lot of HR and then folksy language probably. Also, I would say our whole team, anything from the show The Office, as long as it's not totally inappropriate, we tend to let steam off by joking about Michael Scott Paper Company.
There we go. So what is one interesting fact or experience that would not show up on your formal resume that would be of interest?
I think, I did see that when I was thinking on that. I think probably my Outward Bound experience, my Hurricane Island Outward Bound experience. It kind of got the proverbial get your stuff together. And when I was 21 or 22, it made a real change in my life of kind of starting to grow up and take on some responsibility. I did a whole semester course of Outward Bound in my early 20s. Now my family members give me a hard time because they say, you needed to grow up. So mom and dad sent you to Florida during the winter. So Outward Bound was not in Maine. It's in the Florida Keys.
Was that the sailing one?
Yes, a sailing one down in the Florida Keys. Now it was for 3 months. But they say, you really had a rough experience.
Well, I'd known about Outward Bound for like 30 years. And I told you I took the Leadership Maine class.
Right.
And we had to go to Camp Skylamar and do the ropes. And I was like the belaying and all that. And I don't like heights. I love flying, but I don't like heights. And so I was like, I made it through. And I can now have a little Outward Bound certificate. But it wasn't 3 months. It was like
Outward Bound is awesome. And they actually came and facilitated some team development stuff with our family members last year at our family outing, some team activities, and put us in different groups to work on some things and have fun. And they're a great outfit. Our family has a tight connection with them going back, but that really, I probably, a lot of people, sometimes there's certain milestones that kind of change the path you had. And I would say I was only 21 or 22, but that was a really important, powerful 3-month experience that got me on a different track than I was heading at the time.
That's awesome.
You can ask a really important question.
Yeah. So
what did the ropes in North Carolina too when we were driving back up, because that 3-month we did other things. I hated the ropes as well.
Yeah, the ropes. The ropes are not fun.
No, I like the pulling boat when we had wind.
Yeah, I'm a sailor. I've raised some of your family members, so I love the water and the sailing. I like those ropes, and I'll go in a bosom chair, but I don't want the hang dingle at the top of the tree.
Me neither. Me neither.
No.
So what book or podcasts are you listening to these days to help with your job?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a company called Gartner, and I believe the HR portion of that used to be like the Corporate Leadership Council, CLC, and Gartner consulting company purchased them. They have a ton of great HR and business research regularly, whether it's through polling as well as just kind of best practices. They've helped shape some of our changes in leadership competencies with the research, like during COVID, and becoming more of a people leader focus versus the technical with some people skills, for instance. A lot of research around the changing needs for the workforce, remote, accelerated, high potentials. They have a ton of regular, great periodicals and research, and they have them for supply chain and others. So Gartner's probably one of the, our whole team belongs to SHRM, Society for HR. That's more blocking and tackling stuff probably. And then, on the business side, all we have to do is wait for Brian to send out a McKinsey article or a Harvard Business Review article. So we get lots of good information coming right into the inbox, actually, from our CEO. But those from an HR standpoint are kind of the go-tos.
Yeah. And then our last final one is, what are you live streaming?
What am I live streaming? My wife and I, during the winter months, we're looking to what can we binge watch?
Right. What are you binging?
Right. So, Adolescence recently. I don't know if you've seen Adolescence. That's one of the most powerful episodes.
That was really good.
In England. Yeah. Have you seen it, Derek?
I have. Yeah.
That's powerful. That is.
Yeah. That's heavy.
It's heavy. It's heavy. Yeah. We went back to a comedy after that. So Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm is a recent one. That's a good adult soap opera. That's like, yeah. So, and then anything sports related. I'm a huge sports fan.
And you guys also do don't you do video sports too? Like Hussey Seating? Don't they do like the virtual sports?
Oh, yes. We did. See, again, you should be in our marketing group.
I know it's cool what you do.
Yeah. We dabbled with that during COVID.
Yeah.
For the gaming. And
gaming.
It's not a huge market, actually.
Okay.
For the seating, a lot of portable seating. The seats actually for the players. That's not big volume, obviously. So, but we did do that. We moved. We were exploring things. We were starting out as a plow company. We had a lot of our employees said, okay, during COVID, we had just finished our an exercise on creating our vision, and it was about literally a month before COVID. It was to bring communities together.
Yeah.
So, right. So how's that work during COVID?
We did that on Zoom.
Right. So we had employees asking, hey, are we going to pivot from an industry and product look? And We did. And I harken back to Gary. This was one of my all-time favorites in an employee meeting. We were talking about the Civil War and how long we've been around. He off the cuff, when an employee was asking, we're talking about our commitment to, we believe that this industry was going to come back. Americans aren't going to stop wanting to go to concerts and high school events and sporting events. It will come back. And off the cuff, he said, look, we have nothing to worry about. And he swore, so I won't swear on it. But to the entire employee base said, hell, this isn't even our first pandemic.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We survived the Spanish flu in the early 19, and he just off the top of his head, hell, it's not even our first pandemic. This will not, and people got really spirited up by that, reinforcement that we're in it for the long run, not even our first pandemic. So that's
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. How would somebody, if they wanted to reach out to Hussey Seating, whether it was to learn more about your company or apply for a job, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Brand new website just went live a couple weeks ago. And all of our openings are listed there, our company information. Also there's bios for our leaders. I'm R Hussey at Hussey Seating, just how it sounds.com. But we have a LinkedIn presence. We're everywhere, like most companies are now, Facebook, LinkedIn, and everything. But a new website should get you a lot of the way there, where if you want to reach out.
And we'll put that in the show notes.
Awesome.
Rich, thanks a lot for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
I enjoyed talking with you guys. Great fun visiting with you and sharing our experience. Thank you.
Great. Have a terrific day.
You too.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Chit Chat with Derek and Kat. If you loved hearing today's family business story, don't forget to follow the show and leave us a review. It helps more people find these amazing stories. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Want to learn more about the families and service providers we feature, or get involved with the Institute for Family-Owned Business or Vogue Packaging Corporation? Visit fambusiness.org, fambusiness.org. We'll see you next time on Chit Chat with Derek and Kat.